G'day mates, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's video is the most stacked video I think I have ever done. There is so much insane stuff to cover from FNCS today. We had Mongraal's ridiculous performance getting first place in round 3, and honestly, this is the best I've seen Mongraal play in such a long time. I was so impressed. I'm so excited to see whether they can carry this through and get into grand finals, because if they play like they did today, I have no doubt in my mind they can get to grands and place. Also, we had some more unfortunate news revolving around Ronaldo. He did not qualify into round 3, and therefore XMB, Ron, and Zork are no longer playing FNCS. They are out because they got stream sniped in their final game, and the player even went on to admit that they were stream sniping, and I still don't think Epic's going to do anything about it. So I want to talk about that whole situation and clear that up a little bit. But on more positive news, we had a team manage to qualify on NA East, right? So not even a small region, NA East, with 1 elimination, and you can imagine it's with a heal off, but it's not like you've seen before. This is not like Qrei's done. This is the Orchard heal off with a twist, and I was just mind blown when I saw this. I can't wait to show you exactly how this team pulled it off. Also, we have Veno joining our Falcon, so now we have Veno and Tayson on Falcon, and their teammate Riddiman is currently still a free agent. I'm not saying anything, but I'm seeing the way this is going. I also wanted to show a clip that I saw today from Tayson and Veno that showed one of the most ridiculous heal off strats I've seen in an end game. Pretty much the way to incredibly easily get off 2 medkits in a 10-tick zone. If you don't know about this strategy, you're going to want to pay attention, because if you're a competitor, I guarantee you this could win you an FNCS game or any other tournament. This strategy was so smart. So there's a lot to talk about. I also want to break down where all the pros are dropping on NA East and EU, who made it into round 4, who performed well today. There's a lot. Sit back, get comfy. It's a great video, I promise you. I'll do a bit more of a recap on all the different teams and where they're dropping and all that a bit later in the video, but I wanted to kick off talking about Mongraal, because this performance was insane. We had Kiko, Slender, and Mongraal come first place on EU in round 3 on 152 points and 7 matches played. Second place, which was Blackie's team, had 146 points in 10 matches, and then we had Scram's team in third on 143 in 9 matches. 152 in 7. Look at this match history. This is ridiculous. Worst game being a 5 elim 11th, which is still a good game, and the second worst being a 3 elim 5th. Look at the placement, an average placement of 4.29. And do you know why this is such a big deal? Because this is an entirely different Mongraal to what we've seen in the past, in the best way. Yes, I love the days of Season X and MMB, where they were just running through entire lobbies, just W-keying them, shockwaving and going crazy. That was great. But even Mongraal himself has realized in recent seasons, he's made a lot of tweets about this, that he needs to adapt his gameplay. He needs to realize that he can't rely on that anymore, while still being one of the best fighters in the world and insane mechanics. He needed to get smarter, play smarter, and find a team that he could work well with and step into a bit more of an IGL role. That kind of a placement in a round 3, I know it's not a set lobby. We'll see today in round 4 how they go, and we'll see in the semifinals, because they're 100% there now. Or if they get top 3 today, which honestly, with the way they played yesterday, I genuinely think they can. They will make it into grand finals. This is the best I've seen Mongraal play in such a long time. And out of a team, again, out of a player that you'd expect to have, like, you know, maybe a 20 elim win, but then a few bad games, and then like an 18 elim second, and then some bad games. This was just pure consistency to a T. If you showed me this match history last season and said, who do you think this is going to be? Mongraal would have been maybe one of my last guesses. So I'm super proud for them. I'm super excited to see how well they do today in the finals. And like I said, I'll talk about where they're dropping and everyone else a bit later in the video. While we're on the topic of EU and popping off, I have to talk about the super exciting news that Veno joined Falcon. Now, this is ridiculous. I've already talked about how insanely stacked Falcon's roster is, the fact that they did one of the very first ever, or one of the biggest buyouts of a player from their existing contract with Tayson, bought him out from Guild and signed him to Falcon, and now we have the news that Falcon has bought out Veno from Glorious. So they have not only picked up 2 of the biggest and best players in the world right now, they've picked up 2 of them on the same team and went so far as to pay their orgs out of their contracts because they wanted them so badly. I love to see this, and of course, in my head, the most logical step next is Riddiman is a free agent. if you have an entire Falcon team, that is awesome. And I keep talking about this. A lot of people kind of keep tossing around this, or Falcon is oil money. And I don't know. I really don't like to see this negative connotation towards an org that I see putting so much money and supporting players on such a high level in a scene that I love. I'm gaining a lot of respect for the way that Falcon is conducting themselves, and I hope they keep pushing for this, and getting 3 players on the same org who could potentially win FNCS would be so insanely cool. Rezon's talked in the past about orgs and not joining orgs, and I think there seems to be an issue there of just not really wanting to be on an org or distrusting orgs in a similar situation that we have with a lot of other pros. So I don't want to jump the gun and just say it's happening. I have no evidence to go off for that. I'm just really excited to see it, but it was incredibly well received. Everyone was super excited for Veno, and I wanted to talk about it today because we had some insane chemistry between Veno and Tayson, pulling off what I think is one of the most underrated skills and plays in competitive Fortnite right now. The ability to use 2 medkits in a 10-tick zone by having your teammate effectively use a chug cannon. I know you're probably thinking, Aussie, that shouldn't be that hard. I have watched so many pros mess this up, or even worse yet, so many pros and players not even realize they could do it. The amount of times I see a team go into endgame for the heal off, they have 1 chug cannon and 2 medkits, and I see them give the chug cannon to the player with the medkit. They play the medkit early and then start chug canning themselves. That is nowhere near the most effective way, and you could lose so many heal offs because you don't know this strategy. So I'm gonna show you this clip. I'm gonna break down exactly what happens. It's pretty simple, but you need to get your timing right. You need to learn how to do this, and it's just impressive to watch. I know you guys are probably thinking, Aussie, it's just a heal off. It's not that impressive, but I guarantee you 99.9% of teams right now aren't using the strategy or will not get it off this perfectly. So trust me, watch and learn. Right now, Tayson and Veno, they have 1 chug cannon each, and Tayson has 3 medkits, and they have 4 floppers. They have more than enough heal off to win this game if they probably just ran back in, started chug cannoning, maybe did a medkit, ate some floppers. But this is Tayson we're talking about. He wants to do it perfectly, and in grand finals or in a lot of FNCS settings, this is what you're going to have to do to win these heal offs. So he's taken the 1 tick of damage to make sure he's 90 health to be able to get the med kit off. He starts popping the med kit at the perfect time. They've pre-tapped ahead a little bit. Now, Veno goes ahead and he stays in zone here because obviously Tayson doesn't need to be in, so that the extra time that he now spends not taking damage is going to keep him alive longer so he can chug cannon Tayson. Now, he's going to let Tayson get the med kit off. This is a bit of a misplay. He doesn't need to chug cannon Tayson, but maybe a little bit nervous. Gets it. Now, Tayson's back up. He lets him take 1 tick so he can start popping the second med kit. This is the most important part. All Veno has to do now is chug cannon Tayson twice to get him back up above the 10 tick zone to still get the med kit off. Now, he drops the floppers, he drops the chug cannon, and Veno goes down. Obviously, they still now have 2 chug cannons, 1 with full uses, 1 with 3 uses, and 4 floppers. They didn't need to use any of that. But if you find yourself in endgame and you have a chug cannon and 2 med kits, this is the most effective way to do it. You want to have 1 player start popping the med kit, give the chug cannon to your teammate, get them to chug you once you get the first med kit off, and then you start the second, because then you get 2 whole med kits off. So you manage to get 2 med kits off, and you'll have a whole 5-tick chug cannon to then use for the heal off. It is so much more effective, and I guarantee you, if more teams knew this, they would win more heal offs. It's really not that hard to do. It's just the ability to get 2 med kits off with 1 chug cannon in a 10-tick zone. Before I jump into talking about round 4 and where all the pros are dropping, I want to talk about 2 teams, both all on console from Middle East and OCE, who made it into heats, because I think this is super impressive. I try to show as much love as I can to the console community in these videos. We had, and I hope I pronounced this right, because these names are a bit weird, CLLZXI, Klazixi, and then we have L Peace King 74 and Little RXTR Rhoda maybe on Middle East, and then on OCE, my own region, we had ESWMRR, a swimmer, Barbie FN, and Not Cardi. Guys, you got to help me with these names, seriously. But huge shout out to them. Really, really impressive. That is 2 teams of all console players. And I made a tweet about this. I saw some comments like, oh, next gen gets 120 now. Really not that impressive. No, it is still incredibly impressive. It doesn't. Next gen console does not hold 120 in any kind of Storm Surge endgames, which these guys have gone through. I don't want to hear any of this smaller region slander. I'm not going to try and pretend OC is as hard as EU, but round round 3 and round 4 in OC and Middle East are still getting active Storm Surge games, and these guys made it to heats through that on devices where you can't even turn shadows off. Huge props to them, massive respect. I want to see how they go in heats. I hope they can pull off a miracle, because honestly, heats is going to be a different beast, but even just getting there, I'm super impressed and wanted to give them a shout out. Now, let's talk about who the top 33 teams are out of round 3 and who's going to be playing in round 4, because this is going to be a super, super exciting tournament. This is the last chance for a lot of these teams to qualify. Again, most of them have already made heats off their previous placements, so really eyes are on who's going to make that top 3, who's going to get top 3 and go straight into the grand finals. As always, we're going to break down the map, see where they're dropping. I'll talk about, some of the big things to look out for, and I'll give some predictions. First, straight out the gate, the main topic is going to, of course, be on NA East. Peterbot, TK, and P-God going up against Illest, Macwood, and Tragics yet again at Craggy Cliffs. The video, you guys saw it. It did insanely well. You guys went crazy for it. You saw what already happened between P-God's team and Macwood's team. Whole bunch of beef, whole bunch of drama. It went insane. It exploded, and we've got round 2 again. So keep an eye out for that one. Again, my prediction, I don't think either of them is going to do particularly well. I don't know. It depends if they've somehow managed to get past their beef in the last week. I don't think they have. And I think because of that, both teams are going to be out for blood. I think they're going to try and go blow for blow on spawn. Neither of them are going to try and disengage until the other team is dead. Then they'll play the rest of the tournament, which, as we've talked about, normally doesn't end in a very good score. So I guess we'll see. But if I had to pick my predictions for NA East to qualify, and this is really, really tough, Sprite, Gabe, and Tahi. I know they've been pretty quiet so far this season, but Uncon, Believers Beach, they are set lobby specialists. I think half their issue is the new height meta with launch pads. It is incredibly griefable. It's causing a lot of height teams an issue, but I think Gabe, Tahi, and Sprite have probably put it all together by now, and I have high hopes for them to do well. Obviously, we have Bucky, Qrei, and Clicks out of Steamy. Last time they had Oncon Steamy in week 1, they came 4th. They just fell short of qualifying. DGen's team just beating them out in the top 3, so they've got to be my second pick. Now, my third pick, this is a rough one. Dubs, Mega, and Rokane, again, have not been performing insanely well this season, but they did incredibly well in round 3 to qualify into round 4 today, and they have unconned Bony Burbs. That's got to be up there for me. And it's hard because I've got some of my favorite people in the world. We finally have Luda, Muzz, and Speedy, the OCE boys, making a round 4 uncontested lazy. That could be a big recipe for success, but again, even though I'm from OCE, I'm going to be honest, they have been underperforming this season, and we haven't really seen them in a set lobby for about a month now, so it makes me a bit concerned, but I hope they can pull through. Kalazo, one of my favorite people in the community, Lazar, and Trashy, going Colossal Crops, and it looks like uncontested. If it stays that way, this team has been so consistent. They missed out on qualifying week 1. They came 34th by a single point. They made it last week. They didn't perform the best, but there was a lot of spawn issues. They were contested, and now they've made it again today. They are performing really consistently well. I would love to see them get a top 3. So I know I can't really just pick 3. I'm sorry. Dom, Dusky, and Spade, super underrated, uncontested Holly, because obviously I don't know how, but Jamper, Threats, and Rise did not make round 4 today. This is possibly the worst we've seen them play in the last 2 seasons, but they've already made heats. They'll be okay. I'm a bit sad for them because I am so confident that if they made it, they would have got top 3. I'm that confident, but we'll have to see. Other than that, we have a lot of really contested drops. We do have Who Fishy, Aspect, and Kaz with uncontested Pleasant, which might be a bit of a wild card. We have Sully's team, which is getting the castle, but it's not exactly the most powerful drop. We have Berserk going down near the Flush Factory Hydro Dam area, and then a lot of the other big names are contested. We have Niddle's team going up against Rubified's team at Retail Road. Both those teams have been dropping there for seasons. That is going to be a bloodbath. We have Voil going up against KJ Rop at Dirty. We then have Charlie, Spegu, and D-Roller up against Arrow's team. Now, I'm going to tell you exactly how Arrow's team qualified in a second. This strategy was ridiculous. We saw Qrei revived by these guys. They qualified into the finals with 1 elimination, but they are actual players. They don't just go for only heal-offs. They have placed in tournaments before. They have made money before. They are going to be playing the game properly, and they're doing it out of the Kami split. Magnolia's team getting not only the Orchard area, but also the IO house to the north, so things are looking good for them. Oliver OG's team against Marzo W's team as Stealthy should be quite interesting. I'm not really sure who's going to be able to walk away from that one. DeQuentin against Posick at Risky Reels could be interesting. Furious, Nounsy, and Sizz Lucky could be an underrated team to look out for on Bizzle's Mountains just near Lazy Lake there. Sparebow, Felix, and Posed also going like the center of the map, gas station kind of split. Not a great drop, but we'll see. Thatch, Pamstu, and Qrei getting Uncon Misty. We have not seen this team get Uncon Misty at all this season, so I'm excited to see what they can do with that drop. Beef, Lupien, and Zucky, the French-Canadian team out of Caddy Corners. Again, Narwhal's team going up against Clover at Slurpee. I think Narwhal's team's going to have the advantage there, but I don't know too much about how these teams fight against each other. I haven't really seen it before. We have Bryce's team going the Lighthouse split, and I believe that is most of it, but I'm pretty excited. Obviously, this is the last week where all the, like a lot of the big names, you know, top 3 from the first 2 weeks and top 3 last grand final. So 9 teams already through into the grand final. So you're missing some of those big names, but I'm super excited nonetheless. Now, before I jump on to EU, let me talk about Arrow's team. So Arrow, Fear, and Derpy. This team pretty much reinvented the Qrei strat. They qualified into the finals by getting one single elimination. They did the Orchard heal off. But I know what you're thinking, Aussie, we've seen this before. It doesn't work with Storm Surge, and when zones go south, you don't win. So how did they play that consistently? They get lucky on zones? No, they didn't at all. They have reinvented the way to do it, and it is ridiculous. They land behind Caddy Corners. Hear me out. They end up at Orchard. They land behind Caddy Corners, fish up a whole bunch of fish, rotate far north, go past Steamy, go into Steamy because they're getting fish and campfires along the way. They then fly from Steamy into Orchard because there's no one around anymore. Zone is in Narnia. They then just go, and this is the ridiculous part. They stack up all of the loot on the campfires like usual, but they play it so perfectly. One of them splits off and goes and gets all the extra food down towards the colossal crops. They bring it back. It is just honestly wild. Unfortunately, I do really want to see this strategy gone from the game, and I have so much respect for the players who figured this stuff out, and I think they're so incredibly smart, and I don't want any disrespect or hate to go towards them. It just annoys me that there's no counterplay. This strategy is the definition of uncompetitive. So for example, today, NPen's team came second place to this team doing this strategy. If they had won that game, they would have came top 33 and they would be in round 4. So already by that measure alone, it does have an impact. It's not just all fun and games. Oh, I'm eating a bunch of fish in Storm. It does have a real consequence on other players. And the difference to me, because people are like, oh, but it's a strategy, Aussie. They're being smart. They are, but there's absolutely no way for a team to counter it. Therefore, it has no outplay potential. Therefore, it's not competitive. What did you want NPen's team to do? Rotate from Misty all the way back into Storm and Orchard and kill them to make sure they win the game? That's just not reasonable and not fair. And with this strategy, they can out-heal a lot of Storm Surge, but they can't out-heal full stacked lobby Storm Surge like a round 4 or like a grand final. So they're never actually going to win any of the tournaments they then place for. They're just unfortunately causing other teams to not place. But again, massive respect to them for figuring this out and executing it, because it takes perfect timing and an insane amount of game knowledge. Let's move on to EU, and there's a lot to unpack and a lot to talk about here. We have a lot of very big contested POIs. So straight out the gate, who are my predictions to do well out of EU? I am of course going with Rezon, Veno, and Tayson. They have come 4th and 5th in week 1 and week 2 respectively, and I'm almost positive they are going to get top 3 and make it straight through to grands today. We also have Kezik's and Falcon's team out of uncontested Holly. That is looking really, really good to me. I think those are probably my 2 main teams to look out for right now, up there with Antics, Forziar, and X-Sweezy out of uncontested Misty. Again, you're seeing a bit of a trend here. 3 really good teams with uncontested drops, but honestly, there's a lot of other teams to look out for. We have Putrix team with uncontested Dirty. We have Podesai's team with uncontested Steamy. Blaster's team with uncontested Craggy. Versus team with uncontested Pleasant. We then have MXR with Stealthy Stronghold. Bloomy's team next to Rezon. That could be a bit scary for them. I could see them getting heavily keyed for Storm Surge if Tayson's team needs it. We then have Zeku's team at Caddy Corners uncontested. So a few really good drops going to some really good teams. Wolfies, Marion, and Milan going the Kami split as well. And it looks like they might have most of that to themselves, I believe. But we also have an equally amount of huge names being contested. Mongraal, Kiku, and Slender are being contested by Lolas's team at Retail Row. that is going to be a scary one. I do think the Mongrals team has the spawn advantage. I think they will make it away more often than they don't, but like we've talked about in the past, even if they go down once or twice, that can be enough unless you're playing disgustingly consistent like Mongraal just did to make it to top 3. But we'll see how they go. We then also managed to have some other interesting fights that I didn't expect to see. ADN's team going up against Blackies at Boney Burbs is going to be a bit of a bloodbath. That'll be a fun one to watch at least. How well each team will go, I don't know. We have Vox's team and Scram's team going the Bizzle Mountains, as I call them, in the middle of the map. Don't really know if that's a drop I'd want to contest. Same with CubX's team or CubeX's team against Xenolith, going the middle of the map, kind of that split. I don't know if they've got a way where they're going to split that and not fight, but that is really not a lot of loot at all. We then have Fury's team going Lazy Lake as always against Nail's team. I don't know too much about either of those guys to pick who's going to walk out on top of that one. We have Mosh's team against Trident's team at Risky. Risky is at least a fight that ends quickly. It starts quickly, it usually ends quickly, and you can rotate out and get a decent game out of it, so maybe one of them might do all right. We then have Grizzly's team against Astra's team at Weeping. Weeping is just always contested right now, and I can't really figure out why. I don't think the loot is that worth it. But the last team I haven't talked about, we have Rifler, Savid, and Astro going a bit of an edge split. They're going from Logjam right down to the IO house to the south of Slurpee. It looks like a bit of a split drop, but it actually works quite well because of all the mobility with the launch pads and the IO cars at the IO house. That's a lot of loot there that they can get relatively quickly and rotate in, especially if there is a fight going on at Weeping. They could third party that for easy points and an easy cleanup. So I'm excited to see how EU goes. Moving on to a slightly more negative topic, but I want to bring some positives out of it. We did have Ron not qualify for round 3 today, and therefore done with FNCS. XMB, Zork, and Ron do not have enough consistency points to make it into the heats or the semifinals. Because they missed out on round 3 by a few points, they are done with FNCS. And unfortunately, it was due, of course, to a stream sniper. I feel so bad saying that because Ron is probably one of the most stream snipe streamers I have ever watched. I don't want to go into the whole situation in a bunch of depth. It's already been talked about, but I wanted to clear up a few things. Firstly, the fact that I feel like the reason the community sends so much hate towards the people involved with stream snipers is because Epic isn't really doing that much about it. I would love to see Epic make a statement or start making a strong stance against stream snipers, because I genuinely fully believe it is going to be the main driving force in the decline of Fortnite. That sounds crazy, but look at all the big content creators we've lost. Look at all the pro players who aren't streaming tournaments, all the content we're losing because of stream snipers. Not entirely. I'm not going to pretend like there's not other factors. A lot of the content creators were starting to get bored of the game. A lot of them just couldn't keep up with the skill gap. They didn't like the fact they were getting sweated on, but stream sniping has been a very, very big factor in the decline of Fortnite content. And this is just going to be another big reason for that. So a lot of people who love their favorite content creator just go all out and send so much hate towards the people involved in these situations, which I understand, but I really don't condone, guys. You've really got to not do that. I would love to see Epic do something so the community could feel like there's justice is going to be done. But for Ron, he hasn't qualified now. This player's getting a whole bunch of hate and not much is really going to change, unfortunately. But I also need to clear up one thing as well. There's been a lot of talk about this. Ron obviously tweeted it out. He tweeted out the names of the players. He showed DMs. I'm not going to show any of the names or show any of that because it will just re-kick up the hate towards the person. I did want to clear up one thing. There has been quite a lot of evidence that has come out that not the entire party was stream sniping. It was one player who had Ron stream up. The other two players were trying to convince him not to. They were just trying to play their FNCS out, and unfortunately they got dragged along for the ride. I can't 100% validate that because all the tweets and stuff have been deleted. Everything out there has been deleted. It still does look incredibly suspicious, but either way, the point of me talking about this was not to try to, cover this whole event, because unfortunately what has happened has happened. I just want to talk about how yet again we're probably going to have a situation where one of the biggest content creators for competitive Fortnite isn't making content on competitive Fortnite because of a stream sniper, and I really don't think Epic's going to do anything about it, despite having concrete proof that at least one of them was stream sniping. I just hope Epic does something in this situation and we can move forward and actually have a solution against stream snipers. Alright guys, that does it for another video. It was a stacked one. Like I promised, there was a lot to talk about. If you made it this far, congrats to you. I hope you enjoyed it. Please chuck a like on it. Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on anything I talked about. If you're enjoying my content, I might even be live right now on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Aussie Antics. I'll be doing a viewing party for round 4 for EU and NA East, doing some commentary, doing some bingo for gifted subs, some predictions, all that good stuff. Swing by. I'd love to say good day, but I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.